Okay, so we got it out of the truck, cut the screen, put it installed, screwed it, mudded it, everything, 2 hours flat. Okay, I did a little demonstration for you guys here off the pieces that I'd cut off the bottom of the column. I actually screwed these boards in place. They're just sitting there now because I took it out. But I'm going to take this to the job and use it as a piece that I can test my colors on before I actually put them on the panel. But I did this and I seamed together the areas that I had, you know, the seam right here. And I did so to show you that, you know, this is our column at the job, you know, the wood column with the plastic Delta dry on it. And I stuffed the mud from outside to the inside. And just like at our column, we have something right up against the inside seam here. So you can see that that mud has been pushed all the way through. And in fact, this is very green. It's basically one day after, it's a good 36 hours and it's still green. It's so cold here. I don't know if you can see my breath from the thing, but this thing is very structural right now and it's not a lot of area. I mean, it's put together well. And I'm gonna take it, like I said, today as a sample, but that just kind of shows you what we're looking for as far as stuffing the mud in the cracks to where we get a good bond. And this is bonded together. I told you that the screws are what hold this to the column. The seaming is really kind of cosmetic, but at the same time, it does bond them together. All right, next morning, it's about 34 degrees out right now. I don't know if you can see my breath, it's cold. Sun is shining, but we're in the shade right now. We probably will be for most of the day, but this is still very green, although it's workable. And when we go to use the sanding disc that I'm going to use, you're going to see it, because it's green, it's going to cake onto the sanding disc, which we take a wire brush and we just clean it off so that the sand grit is still there as an agent. But we're going to go ahead right now and just get this thing cleaned up and prepare it for staining. Okay, two of the tools, actually three of the tools that we use. See if I can find that other, there it is. This is a little disc that's usually round, and it's not a paper backed, it's like a plastic, it's more rigid. And we use that to kind of get in there and scuff that up. That little tool, of course, with the zip, roto zip, which is a tile grout kind of a bit, it's a masonry bit. It's into the slot as much as I can get it so that it's not long. If you make it real long, this thing can and break the bit, and they're like $6 a piece. So you want a variable speed to be able to slow it down. The faster it goes, the more that thing jiggles and it breaks. So a lower speed, it cuts beautifully, and that's what we're all about. Now, as far as the diamond blade, there's two types I got here. I'm not so much concerned about the diameter of it as much as I am the thickness of it. This one is a standard blade. This one's a thinner. And when we go to cut grout line or the joints, we don't want it big and fat. It'll look odd compared to the other one. So we're going to use a thinner diamond blade along with the roto zip and the sanding disc, and that'll help us to clean and prepare our surfaces for stain. It doesn't take a lot of touch up. You can see he's just sanding that down just a little, sands one side of the rock and then the other. And then we also have the roto zip and the grinder should we need to get in there and make the joint a little better, but it's just a little sanding. It takes no time or no real pressure or effort. You're just knocking down the roughness of anything that was laid over. This seam should take about 5 minutes to do with this little touch tool. I already did up above here, and you can see that looks really good. There's a couple areas where I'm going to take the Dremel in just for the sake of detail. Right here, you can see there's a little bit of outward protrusion of the mud, and I'm going to knock that back in to give it a little more depth. But Next, we're gonna blow the heck out of this, and usually I would wash it, but then my stone would be wet and I have to wait for it to dry. I'm gonna use a bonding agent and I'm gonna rub it in with the paintbrush. We're gonna blow this off, we'll get the dust we can off, and then we're gonna go ahead and put a bonder on it and brush that in instead of just spraying it, but work it aggressively, like we're mad, like we're forcing the brush on the surface right and left and brushing it hard and aggressive to work any dust that may be in the surface into the bonder itself. So when we put our next cement coat on, you won't have any problem with the bonding. This cement coat that we're about to put on is something I developed. I call it a cement paint. That's what it is. It's literally something we spray through the gun, and it gives us all one color. If I allow this to dry again, right now you don't really see any significant color change, but I can promise you it's there. Look at the area right there. This mud is the same mud that the panel was made with. The panel was casted in a mold in a shop, and it kind of heated up in that mold because it was confined. This dried to ambient temperature, and I can guarantee you this temperature that this dried was a lot warmer than this. This was really cold last night, about 30 degrees. So this is gonna stay a different color, and if you stain this, you'll forever see that patch because it receives the stain differently than this panel that hasn't been patched, and you'll forever see that. You'll forever see anywhere. So in order to get the muds to be in sync, to be one color, we're gonna put a cement paint on it to give it a unified color. It's also a seal coat, which is kind of nice. Then we let that dry. We're gonna force it to dry with the torch, and then we're going to stain it. So stick with us, we'll be right back. Oh, I'm gonna take the Dremel in a couple of areas, and I'll show you that on camera. Okay, you should be able to see the viscosity of this stuff. It's like milk. It's not real thick. In fact, I'm gonna pour it. Yeah, there you go, that's great. I'm gonna put a sieve in here. There is a paint sieve inside the gun in here, a little paint sieve. I've taken that out, a filter. It'll plug up if you leave it in there. And right now I'm just looking for big chunks to be sieved out of this. It doesn't take a lot. We've only got 32 square foot on this column, so less than a quart here. Okay, so knowing how these other columns were painted, because I created the process for the guys that were sanding, I just basically came in and I added a little bit of orange here and there. You want this to show through, so it's going to be strong enough that it shows through, but it's not so loud that it's like, wow, did they put some orange paint on this? So I'll hit the same areas again after they've dried just a little bit. Okay, I want to address the color that I'm actually finding on site here. It looks to me, I can see some orange coming out of this, but predominantly it looks like somebody sprayed it with brown paint. Now, looking at those over there, they look a lot lighter and not as much color, but I know the sequence of colors that I trained them to do, but because they did so many of them, I'm just wondering if the guys who did that are the same guys who did this. I think the guy just sprayed a lot of brown on this and called it good, but nevertheless, it doesn't really matter. What I've got to do is we look across this, these have got to match. I started out with my orange, which I know they would have, because that's how I taught them, but at the same time, this is going to be, and I'm looking at this has got compared to this, that side over here is real brown. These faces have a little bit of gray tinge to them, lightened over here. So what my plan is, I match the color from what they actually had. And I painted this as a sample, and it's very close to the same color. I don't know if the camera's picking that up, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give this a light coat of brown, take a look at it, give it a little more brown, take a look at it. And then when I think I've gotten it near to this one and the one behind me, then I'm gonna spray a little bit of brown on those, of my brown, just to bring them in. And then these next ones, the two over that way and two this way, I'm gonna lightly spray them, and I'll bring my panel into those. Instead of trying to bring this color over here, which I'm attempting to do, and I'm pretty close to doing it, but just to balance it, I'll spray a little brown, a little brown, a little brown, a little more brown here, a little less on the next one, and that'll taper it out and they'll blend. Okay. Mainly what I'm trying to do is cover up the orange or any real gray areas that I see. So now looking at my column against those, they pretty much look the same. This is still a little wet, so it's going to lighten up just a little bit, but I think they're pretty close. It's almost like I say, you still see some orange underlying, but most of it's just, you know, brown paint. That's unfortunately. Let's see what we did this way. I like to get a view of both directions to try and see, okay, yeah, if I bring them in, I can see that's the same color. So unfortunately, it's a crappy paint job, but I got to match what's existing. Well, thanks for watching my videos. If you liked the video, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me. My email's in the description area and my phone number as well. All right, so we sealed it, and you can see some of the sheen, and it kind of looks wet. It's still drying, but that's a pretty good match from where I come from, but it's no spectacular paint job. But as I said before, if you've enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, and share, and call me if you need me. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Bye.